All right, we are at the beach at a beautiful spot. Can sort of see it there. It's very shiny on the horizon. Sorry, I'm just adjusting this for a moment. All right, let's see if that works. All right. Okay. Here we are at the Sacral Chakra consciousness. So I put on the title of this. Okay, first I need a sound check because I'm using my AirPods. So you guys can give me a sound check. I can hear you. It would be great. Good morning, Leah. Trusting that you guys can hear me. All right, I just gotta wait to see if you guys can hear me. From New Zealand. Whereabouts in New Zealand? My daughter. Okay, awesome. You can hear me. Sweet. I got my jacket because it's still cold. Full priestess at the beach, right? Okay, awesome. You can hear me. Sweet. Now just rant away. No, I'm not on a rant today. But I did put adapting to change as the title of this live stream because, and I know I've been getting this message for myself because of the changes that I've been going through. And obviously, like moving away from the beach has been like the biggest thing of my life ever. And I've started to really realize why on so many levels and being shown so many things about it. But the adapting to change and putting it in the sacral chakra is one of the biggest, like I feel like if we're to change something, it's very related to the sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra is in our stomach, so just below our belly button, and it is associated with the color orange. It's our stomach, right? But it's also our reproductive organs. A lot of people think that they're connected to the base chakra, and whilst they are, the sacral chakra is definitely related to the ovaries, very connected to the ear chakras because our ears look like the ovaries. And when we're talking about change, like the basis and solidarity of where we are nourished, like if there was one word for the sacral chakra, it's nourishment. Yeah. So the nourishment is like what fuels our soul. Yeah. And so obviously we eat, we drink, we consume. However, there's one thing that nourishes us at the one thing that nourishes us and will only nourish us is our soul and is the alignment of our soul. So, and I'm like, I forget that what I've been going through, but also going through the chakra journey. And I'm like, jeez, just do it all at once, Hannah. Oh, that's what you're good at. That's right. Okay. So when we're talking about adapting to change, right, the sacral chakra is so potent. Now, men also have a womb. Yeah. Because men also have a sacral chakra. Okay. And in our sacral chakra is not only where we're nourished and fed, right? So on a very physical level, like in this 3D world where we need to eat. Well, actually, that's a bit of a myth. We don't technically need to eat and we don't technically need to drink water. Okay. There is such thing as breatharians, but it requires a lot of training, knowledge, and skills to be able to do that. Okay. So in truth, we don't need food or water. Okay. But as a society, we've been taught that we do so that we consume. And a lot of the stuff that we consume is full of chemicals, which keeps us numb, which keeps us dumb, which keeps us unconscious. Now, unconsciousness sits in every chakra, of course. There's dark light. So in the darkness is unconsciousness. Yeah. So unconsciousness is darkness and consciousness is light. When we're talking about unconscious behaviors, they really stem and sit into the sacral chakra. Now, the sacral chakra is deeply, deeply connected to the essence of life. We grow babies in our wombs. Yeah, women grow babies in our wombs. we birth projects in our womb. It's our creative center. So if we're like not nourished by our soul, so our soul is the only thing that can completely feel that satiation feeling. So for example, if we're emotional eating or emotional drinking or emotional partying or emotional sexing, right? If we're doing any of those things to try and fill up a hole, right? And anything can become an addiction. Spirituality can become an addiction, right? Like if you do something and you feel empty or depleted after, or you still feel sad, you know that you were just trying to fill a hole. The only thing that fills the hole is your soul. Now, going pretty deep here, so bear with me. The thing that I've been shifting through is like, I'm like, I miss the beach, the only where my creativity is, and that my soul's nourished there, and blah, blah, blah. And whilst that is, I know I've been plonked there to show me something deeper, and it's really coming in like, yeah, the beach nourishes my soul, but when I move to the next level of my life and the evolution of my soul, I'm nourished in a different way. And for me, the like separation between what used to nourish me and what nourishes the evolution of my soul and the evolution of my truth and the evolution of what like my truth is of my soul changes. And so when we look at the adaptation to change, right, again, very related to the sacral chakra, because as a baby, okay, so not only do we birth a baby in our womb. So if we look at, and when I say this, it's not just women, okay, like I always say, it's men as well. Now, of course, men don't physically have a baby, but if a man is birthing a project in their life, they have the same cycle as a woman. Why? Because we're humans on Earth, and Earth runs on specific cycles. Whether we like it or not, and we try and work outside those, we're technically still limited to an extent because we're in a 3D reality in this 3D body. Okay, if we're meant to work outside the Earth's laws, which we can bring them in, but again, there's still a level of sort of limitation, if you may, because we're physically present in this 3D reality. So men work on the same birthing cycles as women do. So for example, when a woman is pregnant, it's like 9 to 10 months, right? And that 9 to 10 months is a gestation period. So when we're looking at birthing a project, we look at birthing around the 9 month to 10 month mark. Okay, so if you get an idea, and for the idea to come into full gestation, you can work on a 9-month cycle. Sure, you can get things done quicker than that, longer than that. If you work with the cycles, it really taps into the rhythms of the earth, and that propels you forward, if you may. So where was I going with that? Okay, so this adapting to change, okay? When we look at the cycles of a child growing up, yeah, there's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years, we go into adulthood, yeah? Now, in each of those, there's specific cycles, yeah? And in those cycles, there's like, if we look at a child developmental age, yeah? So for example, 0 to 3, and then, 3 to 7, and then 7 to 14. Like there's all these different age developmental points of a child growing up that continues into adulthood, okay? When we look at adapting to change in our life, there's certain cycles of growing up, more so of letting go of the old habitual ways of what used to nourish us. So I'm going pretty deep here. Are you guys with me? Okay, I feel like this is a bit of an activation that I'm dropping into for you as I'm talking, because we're talking about the cycles and the rhythms and our womb and our sacral, and what deeply dives into here is a very rhythmic flow. Yeah, if we think of the sacral chakra, it's that big Buddha belly. It's that, contentment of the Buddha. It's the cyclic rhythm of, moving, like of the belly dancers. It's a very cyclic flow. And if we're stiff, stuck, stagnant, it's like check in with your sacral chakra. Where are you needing more rhythm? Where are you needing more flow? Where are you needing to step outside of, the strict societal ventures and step more back into the rhythmic flow? So even when we look at like menstruation cycle, right, as a society, we are taught to shut that down, take a pill, even like get it removed so you don't bleed anymore, right? And it's such a connection to the rhythms and the cycles. And if we really work with these rhythms and cycles, and again, even for a man, don't tell me that men don't have man caves, okay? They go through cycles as well. And if they learn them and work with them, they're going to be better people, yeah? Says the turkey. Okay, so the sacral chakra is very connected to the base chakra. Yeah. So even though, is it very connected to the throat chakra? So even though the sacral chakra is intricately connected to the third eye, because they are both one in from the top and bottom. Yeah. So we've got the base chakra and then the sacral chakra on the bottom, and we've got the crown chakra, and then we've got the third eye. So they're like a mirror. Yeah. So the third eye and the sacral chakra are very, very interconnected with each other. So if you get stuck on the sacral, come back to the third eye chakra. So you can use my crystalline chakra activations. So in the crystalline activations, they're working with the light frequency, and it's activating a different frequency, a different coding. It's the crystal code. So activating through the third eye. So you could use the third eye chakra to sort of enter into the throat and help unlock the throat. I mean, talking about the throat, and help unlock the sacral. It's interesting. The throat's really strong for me this morning. And so when I was like checking over my notes in the sacral chakra, I see that I was like looking at the notes, and in the sacral chakra it's very much where we talk about healing the wounds, healing the biggest wounds that there is. So if you sort of hit the sacral chakra and you're like, or even the last few days, you might, like, as we've come into the sacral chakra, you might have felt lost, you might have felt like you've lost your purpose, you might have felt like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know who I am anymore. And that's really symptomatic of your soul coming into your sacral and shoving out anything that is not you. In our stomach, we tend to hold a lot of things that are not us, especially if we have, what did you say? Like, if you have trouble speaking a truth, living a truth, and if someone sort of says something to you and you don't have the courage to stand up for yourself, or even just put a boundary in place, or we have somebody on a pedestal and we're swallowing their truth, that sits in the stomach. Yeah. Or if we're violated in our energy, we swallow that energy, right? And that sits in our stomach. That's where we digest it to, and it sits in our stomach because it doesn't actually digest, because it's not ours. It's not ours to digest. We're not, it's not that we're not capable of digesting other people's stuff. We're not meant to, right? So when we're violated in our energy, that sits in our stomach especially, and then we're like trying to consume that. So if you've got bowel issues or constipation or anxiety that you hold in your stomach, or like any, like, what am I trying to think of, like nausea feeling in your stomach, or even solar plexus, or what's the other stomach issues like? There's something I'm trying to think of. I don't know whether it's like, I guess anxiety we feel in our heart as well, but anyway, all stomach issues. Yeah, stomach and then bowel, because it's like the stomach is stuck, and so the bowel sort of is like not functioning properly, because that's the natural flow, right? So if you have been feeling that in the last couple of days, that's your soul coming in. Yeah, acid reflux stuff. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. Because you're trying to stomach something that's not in alignment. Not even, sometimes it's not even about, what is it? Sometimes it's not even about, like not swallowing someone else's truth. Sometimes what you are doing in your life is not even in alignment. That doesn't nourish your soul anymore. So if there's particular like intuitive guidance that you've been receiving, where does that come from? Oh, that comes from your soul, right? Where does your soul house? Oh, your soul's trying to house into your stomach, your sacral chakra, so that it can anchor in and nourish you and feed you, right? So when we talk about we don't need food, like we look at breatharians, etc., we don't need food and water. So when we look at that, well, what feeds that? What feeds your body if you're not eating and drinking? Oh, your soul, your consciousness and your soul. But that has to be fully connected to your body. Now, the things that stop your soul connecting to your physical body is trauma, and chemicals and stuff like that. Yeah. So if your body is overloaded with shit, and then, obviously trauma creates like scar tissue layers. So your soul can't house in there, right? So when we look at the soul being housed in your body, and if you're, we talk about alignment, so your throat, right? And so if we look at swallowing somebody's truth, or stomaching something that's not in alignment, or doing something that's not in alignment. Your sacral chakra is very connected to your clairsentience as well. Heart chakra is very clairsentience, like the clairsentient feeling, like you feel a lot, you're an empath, etc. When you look at your soul giving you intuition, right? So if you're ignoring your intuition, let's take a food, for example, right? So if we look at food, so let's say you're being guided to stop eating a particular food or stop drinking alcohol, right? Just as an example. And you're like, yeah, I get the message, but you know what? I'm just gonna keep drinking, or I'm gonna keep eating that food. Like, yeah, I get the message, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep eating, right? Because habitual addictions, blah blah blah, covering up something you don't want to face, etc., which is where we feel deep in our gut, for example. So your soul is trying to house into your body. Your soul is trying to come down. Your soul is trying to give you life and life force, and feed and nourish your body with the only thing that fully satiates your entire being and gives you pure health, by the way. Yeah. Because when somebody dies, what happens? The soul leaves. The only reason the physical body dies is because the soul leaves. Okay, so if you've got physical ailments, or you're unhealthy or whatever, it's the soul isn't able to be in the body to nourish that, right? So if you've got health issues from like the waist down, the soul might be to like here or something. Or if you've got health issues from the body down, like the soul's sort of stuck in your head. Or if there's brain tumors or whatever, then your soul's out. Or mental illnesses, then your soul's out completely, in a way, right? So as the soul comes down and in and anchors in, your your soul is trying to anchor in. So when you get intuition about stop eating that food, like it's inflaming your body, or it's making you mind numb, or whatever, it's just saying stop, right? You can ask for information. You're like, why do you want me to stop? Like, ask your intuition, right? The soul is giving you that guidance. When you're not listening to that, it's like you're putting a brick in between you and your intuition. Yeah, it's like you're putting a brick in between you and your intuition. So every time your soul tells you something and you're like, yeah, no, not today, there's a brick. And you get another message, there's another brick. So not only is your soul not in your body able to nourish you, but you're also building these walls up. Now, number one, that's heavy. Carrying bricks around is fucking heavy. It's blocking your intuition even more. So some people are like, oh, I don't hear my intuition. And it's like, well, you probably stopped listening to it a long time ago, and you keep ignoring it even more. So of course it's like, I don't know, a 10-foot like thick brick wall in between you and your soul, right? It's heavy. So if you're exhausted and you're like fatigued and you're like, I don't know what's going on, like, it's like you probably got all these bricks there. Right? You can quickly remove all those bricks, by the way, by simply asking yourself, when did I stop listening to my intuition? Because I guarantee if you keep asking yourself that question, you'll be shown, right? When you entered a red flag relationship and you should have stopped way back when, for example, yeah? So when you look at your soul giving you guidance and nourishment, that's the only thing that satiates your soul. I think I saw some meme going around a long time ago. It's probably still floating around. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. And it's like some shaman or something that, has someone come to them and say, I'm ill health, or I'm depressed, or whatever. And the first thing the shaman says is, well, when did you stop having fun? When did you stop playing? Our soul thrives on joy. Our soul thrives on love. Our soul thrives on all of these pieces, and is always guiding us to the highest, fastest, most lightest path. But we've got bricks, scar tissue of trauma through the system, We've got chemicals flooding into our body. There's so much there, and it might feel a little bit overwhelming and like, well, whatever's. If you're wondering the place to start, bring joy back in. The faster you bring joy and happiness back in, the faster, I want to say, I don't know if it's faster, the more supported and confident you're going to feel to be able to heal all those blocks and bricks. And, you know, like I said, sometimes just by doing the thing that brings us joy, it immediately wipes out. It's not that we have to go through every brick that we said no to. Sometimes the fastest way is just simply going around it, and it totally wipes out that reality. Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah. So yes, nervous system. Yeah, I see all your comments, guys, and because I'm sitting out here, I'll come back and answer your comments through message. Okay, I see them coming through. I'm not ignoring you because I don't want to touch my screen because it's working. I need to get another second phone so I can answer these questions for you guys. Okay. So, yeah, so throat chakra and sacral very interconnected in that way, okay? Because not only, like I said, swallowing someone else's truth, but are you listening to what your intuition is guiding you to do? Yeah, because this is your truth. This is your highest truth, and that evolves. Yeah, so sometimes we can start off and, you know, on the spiritual journey and everyone's like, yeah, it's amazing. And then all the trauma comes up and they're like, I don't know what to do with this. And then they either disappear from the spiritual path or they just block it all out and put all these bricks in front of them, right? And then when we look at, you know, like coming back to what is the next aligned truth. So for example, for me, and literally it only just clicked in this morning actually, you know, like, and this is where the adapting to change. I'm like, what used to, and I've been conscious of this since I've been talking about, I miss the beach so much living out where I do now, right? And every time I try and move, I get blocked, and I'm like, okay, well, what is this about? Okay, I get that I'm supposed to be here. And I started to realize that in the last few days. I'm like, I asked for this. I asked for somewhere peace and quiet so I could get all my filming done. And so now I'm really clear on that. But then it comes into, I'm like, but I still miss the beach. And I've been having this conversation with myself because that really nourishes my soul. So yes, I could definitely drive to 45 minutes to the beach. Like, that's an option. But when I look at the time, and my time is really valuable to me and what I've got to achieve, because it's what my soul's guiding me to do, it's not like, oh, I've got to achieve to be good enough. It's just like coming into, like, you know, and that was the other shift, is that in the past I've needed to achieve to get to a certain place. And because I'd reached that place probably in the last year or so, I've been lost, not only without the beach and all the things that nourish my soul, surfing, etc., but also like I'd reached those goals. And like I said, only last night when I like let myself just have a space for journaling and dropped into it, it was like, I don't have to do anything because I need to achieve something anymore. Like I needed to build my business. I needed to get off the government. I needed a new car. I needed a house. I needed furniture. And now I got all that. And I'm like, oh, well, what now? Right. And because those basic needs are met, sacral chakra, what nourishes you on a very physical level and what we need in our physical 3D tangible reality, right? Now I've done that. Now the whole thing can anchor into the next level version of my truth. And that was a big one. I was like, wow, I don't need to push anymore. Now, there's a whole big thing out there in the coaching industry and, you know, probably other industries as well. It's like, okay, you need to like push and hustle. And I fully believe you do when you're starting something new, because you've got to create a reality of what you're doing. You do. Like, show me a way that you don't have to do that in the beginning. You have to put a lot of fucking energy into anything when you're first beginning. Even building a house or whatever you're doing. Like, it's a lot of energy. Even like a baby, there's a lot of energy. And as they grow up, there's not so much. Of course, you still got to take care of them, but it's not like a newborn baby. And when we look at these cycles and we look at the ages and we look at how long you've been doing something and you realize the stages that you're at, again, it comes back to these cycles and it comes back to the connection. It comes back to the rhythms and flows. Right? When you can understand these cycles and rhythms, when you can come back to the flows, when you can come back to the ages of not only like age developmental self of yourself and how when you're older that relates to when you're younger and your children reflecting that. And then, you know, when you're building a project or a business or whatever you're doing, it's like deeply looking into that. And then it shifts and you've got the own momentum. And then when your needs are met, and what dropped in for me, I was just like, wow, now I can really do what I'm here to do, because everything else has been met. and I can do it from a space of pure alignment because needs are met. The whole reality of the structure that I've been trying to create of like getting off the government and creating my own business and what I'm, here to do with reality awareness in the world, like it's got its own reality, it's got its own bubble, it's got its own energy, it's got its own, I don't know how to describe it, it's its own thing now. I'm not connected to the government, I'm not connected to anything like that, right? Because I'm really grateful. Like a lot of people when I was starting out, like I attract these people and they're like, I hate the government, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm really grateful for it because it's really supported me to where I was in this time, right? I am channeling this live. I just haven't been answering comments because I don't want to touch my phone and it muck up. That's all. So I'll definitely come back and check comments. I'm live right now. Yes, Nicole. So when we're really looking at the evolution of our truth and the evolution of what satisfies you and the evolution of what makes you happy, here's a good one: empty nesters. So women and men, usually women, I see a lot of women, especially currently now in the older generation, where their children have grown up and now they don't have anything to do because their job and their purpose was to raise their kids and be the housewife. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But I work with a lot of people who are at that place and they're like, so what do I do now? And they're in this place of like sort of utter confusion if they don't know how to grieve what they've moved out of and stepping into their new era of life and refinding. It's like the whole evolution of their truth and their purpose is it's reached a whole nother stage. And it's so important of understanding how we let go properly from an old phase of our life, what that entails, what that looks like, what can come up in that process, and then being able to support yourself to be able to find your new evolution of truth and your new evolution of grounding. It's like you can really tap into a deeper, I personally feel it's a deeper level of satiated joy because you're not doing it out of have to anymore. Like, I have to look after my kids and raise them. Like, even though we love doing that, and of course we need a break at times, when they get older and leave the nest, for example, like you don't have to do that anymore. So you come to a place where anything you do is almost without purpose because you had purpose before because you were raising your kids. But now they've gone, it's like, what's the purpose of anything? There's no point in doing it. Like, what's the purpose? And that's where the recalibration into coming into a deeper level of truth and what your soul is here to really do in the world really starts to anchor in. And we are nourished in a deeper way, but the grief must be let go of our old life first. This grief is almost like one of the bricks in the way, if you may, because grief is actually stored in the large intestine, which relates to our sacral chakra. So when we hit the sacral chakra, a lot of grief can surface. And if we're not grieving and letting ourselves wail, howl, cry, releasing anger through a boxing class, if you may, because we just come out of solar plexus where a lot of anger can be stored, and then underneath that is grief, right? So it's important to express these emotions healthfully, for sure, whether that's through art therapy or boxing or someone in a safe space being able to hold you and really hold that space for those emotions to come out. Like, you'll get sort of headaches, you'll feel foggy, you'll sort of lose yourself, you don't know what's happening. Like, we can really get into a very not even just ungrounded, it's can't function, right? We can't function when we're trying to hold all those emotions down, let alone how heavy it is with the bricks. Yeah, we're weighted down, like we can't think straight, etc. Yeah. Okay, so the sacral does relate to large intestine, stomach, also the psoas muscle. Ooh, let's talk about that. Do you guys know what the psoas muscle is? The spleen and the pancreas, which the spleen and the pancreas, I think it's the spleen is where a lot of worry can happen. So we're worrying about things. We're worrying about, it's almost like the worry and anxiety is like fully strong. But when we're like recalibrating and we're stepping out of our old life into our new, or, like looking after our kids and then, then they leave. And by the way, like, when I work with people who have got, young children or new children today, I'm like, stay connected to your purpose, stay connected to you. Sure, like have the first 3 years or something, or however long you feel called to, but make sure you're doing something for you as well, because when they leave, you won't feel so lost and you won't have to go through that. Plus, you're also showing your kids how you can, like, do everything in a sense of like staying connected to what's really important to you and what you're here to do in the world as well. So the psoas muscle is is the muscle that connects our upper torso to our lower torso, to our legs, to our lower torso. It is literally the muscle that goes from your hips right inside up and through your rib cage, like all through the back there. That psoas muscle is like the place that holds our torso together to our hips, yeah? And that muscle can easily get have a lot of stored trauma. And if there's any bit of stress, it's usually the first thing to go if people have hips out. And how I was saying before, I meant to say too, like if you're stuck at the sacral, maybe come back to the third eye, do the crystalline third eye activation. And then also like with the third eye, so what was I going to say? Like we can unlock the sacral chakra with the third eye. So, for example, what I meant to say back then is also like if someone's got a hip out or if someone's tight in the hip or lower back, if you go to the correct specialist, they will unlock your neck and your shoulders because that's what's like pulling this out of alignment, if you may. And so that's why your hip hurts because it's actually tight up here type thing. So you went through empty nest syndrome. It's a thing, right? It's a thing. There's a lot of people who do. Oh yeah, here's the psoas muscle here. So you can see, as even a picture of it. So you can see the psoas like through the hip. So it's that internal muscle. And there's lots of ways that you can release the psoas muscle. Like if you're going to do anything, release the psoas muscle. If you just Google like, how do I release the psoas muscle? It's spelled hang on a second, Psoas. Psoas. So psoas, Psoas. So releasing the psoas muscle is really, really awesome. To be able to like if anything's tight, it's awesome to release the psoas muscle. Yoga is really good for it. There's some specific yoga things you can do as well. Okay, what else do I need to share about the sacral chakra consciousness? Let's see. Yeah, so attachments, addictions, wounds, and then shadow. Yeah, so hence again, we're talking very connected to the throat chakra. So the sacral chakra and the throat chakra are very, very interconnected, as we've been talking about, and it is about integrating the shadow. So when we've got wounds, trauma, chemicals, imbalance, blockages in our sacral, in our womb, in our stomach, reproductive organs, if we, obviously go through everything we've been talking about on this live stream, but then also looking at the shadow, what part, and ultimately shadow work is just meeting unmet needs. Yeah. People are like, what is shadow work exactly? It's like, well, it's a reflection of reality. Every person is a reflection of reality. I like to explain it in understanding ways as well of like shadow is an unconscious part of your psyche. Yes. But really what it is just an unmet need. It's a way to identify an unmet need. All problems in the world or problems in relationships or problems with health is that there is some sort of unmet need sitting in your body, sitting in your psyche, sitting in your emotions, sitting in your consciousness, sitting in, if you want to travel down the problem and you want to figure out what the problem and the core issue is that someone's need is not met in that space. Plain and simple. Let's just keep it simple, right? Fix up the unmet need and everything else disintegrates. It's a bit like what I said before, where like all those bricks, right? And if you just did something that brought you joy, it's not a bypassing, it's literally like pulling in this high vibration energy and it'll disintegrate all the bricks. And if there's a specific brick, okay, that's still sitting there, then that's the one you need to deal with. You don't have to go through, oh my God, there's so much here. It's like, no, let's focus on the joy, bring that higher vibration back, and let's see what needs to be cleaned out if it's anything is still sitting there, right? So it's not a bypassing, it's a conscious choosing to go around, fill up your cup, so to speak, fill up your vibration, and then see what's left. So with the unmet need, it's the same thing. It's, like let's take that example, right? If we look at the shadow, right? It's integrating the shadow. It's like, okay, well, there's this problem. I'm just going to use my example. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, my problem is I miss the beach. Oh, well, you could just drive that. It's 45 minutes. Well, I'm tired. Like I don't have the time and I don't have the time to drive, which is bullshit. We always get to make the time for anything, right? But I'm like, if I drive out there, I don't have anything time for anything else. Okay, there's a brick. Okay, all right, it's so far. Okay, it's like the fuel, which hasn't really been an issue. I'm just trying to give you examples here. Okay. Oh well, I'm depressed. Oh well, I've got to take care of the animals. Oh well, it's this and it's this and it's all these fucking issues. And at the end of the day, it's been none of it. And it's, people are like, oh, that's an excuse. And I'm like, I think it's a way of trying to figure out what the unmet need is. For me, the unmet need is that I needed some time out. I need break. What does the ocean give me? It gives me a break. It gives me a fill up the cup of my soul. It gives me a way to rebalance my energy. It gives me vitality of life, like whatever, right? So the issue hasn't been necessarily the driving or too far or blah, 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 or I've got to take care of the animals or whatever the story is, right? That's not actually been the issue. The issue is, like, the unmet need is that I need vitality of life. I need my joy back. All the driving and all these things don't give me joy. I used to love driving, but I've driven a lot in the last few years and I'm done with driving. I'm ready to manifest my driver. Thank you. Right? So when we've got like all these things, like, they're not the issue. Okay, so when you're working with someone or even children, right, and they're crying and they're upset, it's kind of like, what do you need? And even when you ask that question, a lot of people just go, I don't know, because they've got to work through all these bricks. And it's not that you have to work through them, it's just that, okay, well, what do you need? And what did you need? Well, that must have been really hard, but what do you need? Right? And it can take a little bit, because a lot of people aren't taught as a society what our needs even are. We're not taught that, right? So if you want to, I want to say, fast track any healing, tap into what the need is. What is the unmet need? Because when you start working with that, you start healing from the inside out, and that's why the bricks disintegrate. Yeah? All right, so anything else for the sacral chakra of consciousness? Let's see. So shadow, addiction, the wounds, joy, and it is stepping out of survival into beingness. It's all those needs being met, and then we can truly focus on our purpose. Because what we're leading into next week with the base chakra, life purpose, baby. It's base chakra is physical reality. So we've nourished our soul. We've trusted our intuition. We're acting on our intuition. There's a difference between receiving intuitive ideas and actually bringing them down to trust them, to act on them, right? The sacral chakra is the nesting, the gestation place where we're starting to put our ideas of our project into being, and where the baby's growing. Like, if you always remember that, it's like, yeah, I'm working on it, the baby's growing, like, and it's like looking at that gestation period at the base chakra. Oh, that's where we birth babies, right? Well, unless you have a cesarean, but naturally we're meant to birth them through the base chakra. And same with a project, right? When the project is complete, so to speak, is when we're birthing it through the base chakra. Now, when we birth the project, this is really important for creative entrepreneurs to really remember that it's like a newborn baby. You're going to be like, and there's like a letdown or a let go, and it's like an adjustment because now your baby's born. Now you've got to learn what to do with it, so to speak, right? So when we can keep that in mind, right, over this next week, we'll be stepping into the base chakra. So physical reality, yeah, we're birthing things in the physical reality, sexuality, finances, trust, right? There's trusting your ideas. There's trusting yourself at the sacral chakra, at the solar plexus, and then there's trusting life at the base chakra. Now, if there's sexual trauma or any other traumas through the base chakra, that will affect your trust, and it's the trusting your soul to be fully housed in your base, fully housed in your body by the time we get to the base. So when we're allowing the sacral chakra to birth that soul further down, they're the things that are going to come up in this next week into like next week is the base chakra. Yeah, so finances, sexuality, trusting life and trusting people and trusting reality. Yeah, trusting reality, being here and feeling safe in the world. Safety is a big thing. Yeah, if you don't feel safe, you're not going to do anything in the world, right? And life purpose. Yeah, they're the big ones for the base chakra. Like I said, these reproductive organs, but technically they're connected to the sacral as well. Very interconnected almost. So yeah. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining me for the sacral chakra consciousness. I will come back and answer those comments. I just didn't want to touch my phone and it muck up or something. For some reason, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to leave it. So I did see your comments there. I'll come back to them. Thank you so much for being here. And I will, check your comments. Make sure you've got the Crystalline Chakra activations. So we've got 2 more weeks. We've got the base chakra and then integration week. So integration week actually goes for a bit longer than a week. It's like a chakra a day because we're integrating the whole 9 weeks that we've been through, or the whole 8 weeks that we've been through. So it can be pretty big. And just give you a heads up now for some reason. So on integration week will really bring you to, like you'll go through each chakra each day, or one of the chakras that we've been through will just be present the whole time in integration week. So yes, you can start this over in 2 weeks, 100%. The more you go through the chakra journey, like every 9 weeks, like it's like you go deeper and you go deeper and you realize more and you shift more. Like it's a thing. Maybe give yourself a week break after integration week and then do it again. So on integration week, it's a chakra day, or it'll be like, you're like, oh my God, it's like I'm in third eye chakra week again. And it's just because that's the chakra that's needing extra support. Yeah. Yes, you're so welcome. I'm so glad it was aha moments for you guys. So the Crystalline Chakra activations, you can use them. And then on integration week, depending on how you're feeling, you can go through and do one of the, each chakra activation daily, which can be really quite intense, but it also can be like, oh, thank goodness for that, right? Make sure you've got them. You can find them on my page. Send me a message if you don't have them, or you can comment crystalline below and we'll get them sent out to you. So I'm sending you guys so much love. Have a beautiful week if I don't see you beforehand, and I'll speak to you then. Bye.